Yeah, that's a good question. There was a lot of things that we didn't expect initially when we got into this. When we discovered the money laundering, we figured just report it to the service desk at the Watchtower headquarters, and it'll be handled. It'll be taken care of. What we didn't realize is that we were actually reporting this to the very people that were involved. And so once they realized that we understood how the money laundering connected to the remodeling projects and Kingdom Hall mergers, that's kind of when the gates of hell opened up, and after that it was just a frantic, chaotic, frenetic, whatever way you want to describe it. They were doing anything and everything to try to stop us, and we didn't expect that. We didn't expect to have our phones tapped. We didn't expect to be followed around town. We didn't expect to be threatened. We didn't expect to be intimidated. We didn't expect to be labeled apostates. We didn't expect an effort being made to try to turn the whole world against us. And all we were saying was, here, we discovered something. And we were just what we thought, basically cleaning out the money changers in the synagogue, so to speak. And in the opposite, it was just they looked at us as being this threat. And that's when we had begun to realize, and most people won't believe this, but there's a very sinister side to the Watchtower. You won't know this unless you run afoul of them, or you happen to discover some secret that they don't want the public to know, and they will do anything to keep their secrets. And we didn't expect to have our cell phone messages read. We didn't expect have our emails read. And I tell people this, and they look at me and they're like, "Oh, this is the Watchtower. They don't do these kinds of things." And I'm like, "Yeah, they do." If you have an email address at any of the big three, Google, Yahoo, or Hotmail, they have witnesses who work for these companies. And if they want to know who you're emailing or what you're saying in their emails, they just make a phone call and say, "Hey, brother so-and-so, can you get us copies of these emails from this address? We believe that there's something going on, and we want to keep the congregation clean, and we can't explain to you what it's all about, but just trust us and get us this information." And the average Jehovah's Witness will do it without questioning, never realizing that he's actually making himself an accessory to, whatever illegalities could be going on. So there were a lot of considerations. We didn't expect to be followed around town. There was one particular incident where Arlen St. Clair was having a cup of coffee at a random cafe, and in walks Alan Lee and Lawrence Lee, and Arlen said, "How did you know I was here?" And they said, "Oh, well, we know your routine, and we can get to you anytime we want to." And that's pretty sinister, and you don't think of the Watchtower as being that way, but there's a very dark side to it. And we didn't expect them to have political connections. They claim to be no part of this world, but yet they've developed a very very strong working relationship with the world. We didn't expect them to be able to manipulate the police department. There was an investigation into the identity theft, and Patterson, the Watchtower headquarters in Patterson, made one phone call, and that was it. The police department said, "We're not going to make an arrest, and this investigation is shut down." And we had filed various cases, which they were all dismissed, and the premise was, "Oh, well, you don't have any evidence." And so this was the belief. Everybody thought, "Oh, well, they don't have a case. They don't have any evidence." The reality was we had all kinds of evidence. They just pulled strings and got the cases dismissed. And you tell people this, and the first thing that they tell you is, "Oh, you're crazy. This is a Watchtower. They don't do things like this." But, yeah, they do. And it's very much like dealing with the mafia. And I didn't expect that. None of us expected that. We didn't expect the Watchtower to operate like the mafia. And it has been a very eye-opening experience. But it's a little scary to know that something that on the outside looks very inviting and very family orientated and very on the up and up, there's a dark side to it. And I can recall what one gentleman said, and he summed it up best. And he basically said, I've watched this situation from the very beginning. And he said, all I've seen is the Watchtower has spent the last 2 years kicking and screaming and trying to do everything to keep from going to court against a couple of guys that don't even have a lawyer. And then he said, that either means one of two things. Either these guys have really good evidence, or the Watchtower already knows it's guilty. And that was like the most profound statement I ever read. But it's true. It sums it up perfectly. And that's what this situation is about. You know, we stumbled across something that we didn't know what we stumbled across. And once we figured it out and tried to do the right thing, then all of a sudden it was just open season on us. And they've tried to make us look crazy. They've tried to tell people we're renegade, out of control apostates, and we're enemies against Jehovah. And, you know, we're trying to attack the Watchtower. Hey, this isn't about anything spiritual. This is just about, we discovered money laundering. We discovered crime. That's it. That has nothing to do with the Bible. It's just, this is what we discovered. And we tried to do the right thing. And, you know, like I said, the proverbial gates of hell just opened right up.